Hey everyone and welcome back to the Roundup. Man, there are some great stories today. Overwatch has immediately had some woes, which really does suck to see, but at least we'll get to go through that. We of course have got Activision managing to squeeze out quite a bit more money from Call of Duty players, while actually giving them, compressed seasons. It all does look a little bit suspicious, funky and weird. Sticking actually with Activision Blizzard, there's even more drama surrounding the merger. Also, FF16, just a few days left, and some top Twitch streamers, of course, having a big think about Kick.com. Okay, let's just get right into things with Overwatch then. So, Season 5 came out, and there were immediately problems. One of the things that it brought in was the on-fire mechanic, but it seemingly started to pop off randomly in unexpected ways, and it was just kind of confusing. Game-breaking, no, but was it a bug? Yes. Does that feel good for an embattled game? Obviously not. But the biggest pain isn't actually something that's Season 5 related. Instead, we got the return of some long-standing mercy bugs, where basically a weapon swapping animation in certain spots of certain maps meant that, two separate maps have had to be disabled. So, Antarctica and Paradiso are both gone. And in these cases, right, mercy players were able to tank the frame rates of the whole lobby by exploiting a glitch. So, basically, it would mean a really terrible player experience. But at the very least, they have removed map pools. As of Season 4, they removed map pools, and that does mean that this will have a lesser impact on the game than it would have when we were still dealing with those limited map pools. Now, of course, it is kind of unfortunate that in the 8 new maps of Overwatch 2, 2 of them did have to be pulled for some fixes. Hopefully, though, that's not going to take too long. Now, there actually has been one long-standing thing that they have fixed, and that is Watchpoint Gibraltar has had a pass to clear some choke points up. It's just some stuff people have been complaining about for years, and it's one of those things where I think there's an inherent friction between updating old maps in line with expectations and then keeping the new maps, rolling out, while still also not having problems with bugs, with exploits. And you do just wonder, with this extremely aggressive 9-month seasonal pace, what is it like for the developers? And that brings me to the final little update here, which is they have actually had to delay some PvE, which is not great. I suppose the positive spin on this is they're probably going to be able to make sure it doesn't launch with loads of bugs. So the Hero Mastery training mode is being delayed to a mid-season update for Season 6, which is obviously not ideal, and this is especially when the character-based training challenges were actually one of the few non-competitive elements that people could hop into and enjoy. We're probably looking forward to. Blizzard themselves just said that in order to deliver the best possible experience for the new mode, they're postponing the launch until a mid-season update in September. So if those issues have been found before the launch, that probably does bode well. Overall then, it's a funky situation with Overwatch. If you caught yesterday's video, you'll see the bizarreness that is going on. There are good things. Of course, some issues like Star Watch not being as well received, and the way that the exciting thing about an event now just seems to be Battle Pass XP, which certainly is a lot less exciting than, how the events used to be. Overall then, I'm still left disappointed by Overwatch 2 as a product. As a game, it still has its issues. I can personally find it to be a lot of fun, and when that PvE content comes out, I'm actually very confident that it will be fantastic and super fun for what it is. But the thing is, it's probably not going to be what people actually wanted, because what we all know people wanted was like a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-hour-long campaign that you could sit through and enjoy a cohesive end-to-end narrative experience within the Overwatch verse, and then on top of that you would have all of your co-op PvE stuff. So really, with the true meat of that not actually existing to build out the world, it's just never going to be able to achieve the fundamental promise of whoever the hell knows whatever Jeff meant when he said that with Overwatch 2, they're going to redefine the sequel. But I suppose if that was their standard, they kind of have redefined the sequel. Maybe just not in the way that they hoped. Now, sticking with them, we do have some interesting stuff on the Activision merger. So, June 17th marked the filing deadline for Microsoft and Activision to oppose the Federal Trade Commission's request for a preliminary injunction against the deal. And this will all be taking place in a federal court, and that means that members of the public get to see redacted versions of many of the documents that have been filed and many of the arguments made by the parties. And that means we can see the lawyers on either side's best work at basically demanding that the injunction is dropped, which, of course, the thing there is they want the injunction to be dropped so that they can complete the deal. Because for them, it's better to complete the deal than to basically be delayed by the legal process beyond the termination or whatever the clause is, where I think it's like some date in July. If it doesn't go over the line by then, basically, Bobby and co. get a few billion from Microsoft, which... yike. So we've seen a few things there. One from Florian Müller, who's a patent analyst and advisor, sort of mobile games publisher, who's fervently, I must say, very fervently in the belief that this merger should be allowed to go uninterrupted. He's highlighted a few things that he thinks is worth talking about. One of the bigger ones is basically this segment. And if you have the superpower of reading through those black lines, you could take it the way that he has. Right? To him, it basically means that Jim Ryan was apparently certain COD would remain on PlayStation because it would make financial sense, right, to damage the COD sales. What it basically says here is, on the contrary, Jim Ryan, CEO of SIE, chief commercial opponent of this deal, said privately the day it was announced, redacted things. Withholding COD would harm Xbox. It would contradict the valuation the board relied on in improving the deal, which assumed profits from continued PlayStation sales. It would cut off highly lucrative income stream for one of Microsoft. Redacted. So if you can read through those redacteds, I mean, you certainly could see it that way, of Jim being fairly sure that even if the merger did go through, the amount of money that you would lose from no Call of Duty on by far the largest console platform, that would be not necessarily a sensible thing. So I actually think that Florian is probably correct. I think Jim Ryan probably never thought that PlayStation would lose Call of Duty, but I think that Jim Ryan would rather that 30% store fee goes to a third party who has a interest in being available on all of the platforms, including his. He would far rather that over that store fee going to his direct competitor to help them be more competitive against him. I think that does make sense, right? And that's why even if privately Ryan thought that, there's no risk to COD on PC, Ryan almost certainly will have wanted to oppose the deal, because who would he rather be paying the royalties to? Activision Blizzard or Xbox? I mean, pretty obvious, right? Now, what is interesting is I did see some other commentary on the internet, kind of speculating that Microsoft may want to abandon the deal rather than go through an extremely lengthy legal process. So it's quite interesting. I mean, ultimately, if they can get that injunction blocked, then they can actually make the deal happen. And then the legal stuff can go on while the deal has already happened. And the way that would work is if the legal stuff then falls through, then they would have to unwind. But I imagine they feel that if they can get the deal to go through, and then they can, I suppose, act in the way that they say they're going to act, prove that they're being a good citizen, that, maybe that would be okay for their chances. All in all, that it's a pretty interesting situation. I can certainly say that personally, for some of the games that I care about, I think that the incentives of a first party are stronger than the incentives of, basically Activision Blizzard. So out of pure self-interest, I would actually prefer the deal go through. Because, hey, sometimes there's ideas and philosophies, and then there's just like, yeah, well, you know what? I'd rather Bobby wasn't controlling that. And it seems like he'll probably leave if it goes through after a year or two. By the way, whenever I say this, please subscribe to the channel if you are regularly watching it, and to actually be informed about the news when the news is actually still called the news, instead of being just randomly told about things, sometimes maybe, click that bell, then click all notifications. And with that done, back to the news. Now then, we do have to talk a bit about Kick. So, XQC took a deal. Amarath is also apparently going to change things up. In XQC's case, it's 70 million. It's a 70 million deal with incentives that increase that to 100 million. That will help balance out any potential format from a new platform. The new platform is Kick, and it is in fact a non-exclusive deal. It is all quite interesting. Kick is of course heavily associated with Trainwrecks, who for a very long time has been doing gambling streams. And supposedly is the third largest owner of Kick. And basically, Kick exists to basically dive into the streaming market and shake things up. And they're very much heavily advertised. They're very creative, friendly creator-friendly policies, which, in light of Twitch doing everything that Twitch does, is quite relevant because they're offering a 95-5 revenue split. That goes far beyond the 50-50 that most people have in Twitch, or the 70-30 that can be given in the Partner Plus thing that we've talked about. This not being exclusive certainly is interesting. XQC said that he's going to split his time between Twitch and Kick. Kick generally is perceived as being a bit more permissive and that kind of thing. Obviously, Twitch specifically banned, like stake.com and a lot of the gambling stream stuff. But of course, if you're wondering why Kick is 95-5, it's not out of the goodness of their hearts. It's because it's entirely backed up by gambling money. The founder of Kick is also like the founder of Stake, stake.com, the crypto gambling that sort of exists to dodge regulations because crypto. So it's one of those challenging things. They're backed up by EasyGo Gambling and, of course, also Stake.com. Now, Stake were heavily, as we all know, sponsoring streamers. So, you just have streamers blowing through millions on stream, in many cases being bankrolled by Stake with extremely lucrative multiple $1 million per month, advertising contracts. And ultimately, the thing here is it's showing that exposure to these gambling platforms to the audience of those streamers, where I think a lot of the streamers, they're trying to cover themselves in a veneer of, oh, gambling's bad, I'm addicted, don't do it, don't be like me. But ultimately, it is just a clear promotion of gambling. Look, why would they be sponsored all of those millions if it wasn't an ROI positive thing? Right? Follow the money. It's pretty easy. So when you look at the 95-5, it's like, yeah, follow the money. Gambling's a major category on Kick, right? So that's a big difference compared to Mixer, at the very least. But for a lot of people, especially the ones who can be banned for things like, XQC, Amaranth, Trainwrecks, there's kind of no downside here because there's far less moderation or anything like that. You're going to make more money. You can sort of define the culture on a new platform, and there's just more opportunity getting in on that ground floor. Now, speaking to The Times, the CEO, Ed Craven, CEO of Kick, is basically hoping to act as a disruptor to start and is claiming to be prepared to operate at a loss. And this goes to what DJ Wheat said. Remember, DJ Wheat, I know him back from the StarCraft days in 2010, and before that, of course. He was, I forget his title, but it was a fairly significant title at Twitch. He kind of left, quite clearly he left in disgust, was very frustrated with, I think, the place under Dan Clancy's leadership. But he did say, if you really wanted to build a live streaming Gamba-friendly platform, great, more power to you. They should say that, but you can't say, Kick's team and I have a vision to make a live streaming platform that's actually built for creators, then hide or misrepresent key details. If you can't advertise your crypto gambling site through conventional means, the best way around it is through influencers, sport, creators, or just creating your own site, which is exactly what Stake is doing. And it absolutely is the case here. Kick is just massively expanding gambling to a new audience. XQC does a bunch of gambling, Trainwrecks does a bunch of gambling, and the gambling category is generally doing pretty well on Kick. In fact, I just went to Kick right now, and if we go through it, you got 17,000 people in just chatting, 6,740 slots in casino, some people playing COD, few less playing Valorant, and then it's pools, hot tubs, and bikinis coming in at number 5, just ahead of Grand Theft Auto role-playing. So obviously the gambling content is fairly major there, and you've got to think about a sort of ROI situation, right? So if you get like $20 out of someone in a month in donations to a streamer, you get a percentage of that, fine. Who goes and gambles $20 a month? No, when people are gambling, that's hundreds. For many cases, it's thousands. If you get a proper high roller, and then your house, your rate of return's probably like 95%. The house, the sort of the house odds. But you got to remember the way that it works with gambling is it's not like you sit down with 100 grand and then you leave with 95 grand because that's the house, that's the house's edge is 5%. No, you'll sit down with 100 and quickly dwindle your way. Because remember, if you lose 50% of your money, then you've got to increase your money by 100% to get back to where you were. It's like one of the most core things of investing. That's the way that gambling works. Even the way that house edges are presented is like a little bit misleading against the mechanics of how how the gambling actually works, where most people's bankrolls are, of course, on the fast track down to zero. So the amount of money that they make is absolutely humongous from slots and casino. Of course, if they can pretty much dodge all the regulations, grow that category, have a massive gambling thing going on, then yeah, we all know how Kick's going to have a shit ton of money. I personally wouldn't go there out of I suppose the moral reasons. Google's obviously not a perfect company, but it's fundamentally not built off predating on people's psychological weaknesses to completely drain them of money, which is what gambling is about. I think all that, game safely, that's just trying to cover one's own ass. Everybody knows what gambling is. Everybody knows what happens when a casino moves into the neighborhood. Now it's just happening in a deregulated online way that is just significantly more dangerous overall, especially because it can go hidden instead of being a very literal and obvious cancer on a physical community. So to keep it on going then, if we look at FF16 stuff, in a big year of simultaneous PC ports that have been total disasters, Square Enix are actually seemingly listening to their developers, because Yoshi-P has confirmed that the PC port for the game will be some time yet. It's been framed as a technical issue because the team don't have the capacity to fully optimize for that platform currently. So that's basically it. You got to remember, this game was originally announced PS5 and PC in 2020, right? Then in November 2022, Sony actually said it would be PS5 exclusive for 6 months. Yoshi-P joked then about the PC version being rumored, but to buy the PS5 version anyway in January 2023. And that all obviously suggests that the plan is to have it on the PC platform. But whether it's this 6 months exclusivity or it is just they want it to be a good port, it does at least seem like it's going to get time in the oven to be fairly ready. I will not be playing this game on PC. I will be playing this game next weekend. I've actually specifically not played the demo because people have said it's so goddamn mind-blowing. Seemingly that mind-blowing good. And for our final story, we have a good one. Oh, it's Call of Duty and the Black Cell Pass. Because they have got, they've got a new innovation in gaming, folks. So this is their premium sort of model. You've got the Black Cell Pass that goes on top of your regular paid season pass, and it's working very well. You take a look here at the top games over on Steam. You got your Starfield Steam Deck. Oh, what's that at number 4? Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Black Cell. The second Black Cell edition. Now, it's quite funny, even looking at the reviews, I paid for the privilege of leaving negative reviews. I waste money in this kind of garbage all the time because I'm trying to cope with my internal emptiness. What's your excuse? Nice. And of course we have Noodles here saying, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. And finally, some beautiful art here by Mika Moss. Yeah. So how does this actually work? How do they do it? Well, it's one of those battle passes that's in the form of a map. And what Black Cell does, it does give you some things, right? So it gives you 20 battle token tier skips and 1,100 Call of Duty points. But the thing that matters is, it gives you a new access point in the battle pass map. And the new access point in the battle pass map lets you use your 20 battle token tier skips on basically higher value things. It's so... But yeah, you can see it getting absolutely just very, very big sales. And the other crazy thing is it's only a 7-week-long season. So shorter than an Overwatch season. That's crazy. So they're kind of hitting this point then where Warzone and multiplayer changes are just they're just being heavily reverted back to what the community actually want. They're actually doing pretty well in terms of content now, which I was surprised by, but apparently they are. But this whole Black Cell thing is just a new innovation, because it's not just like a premium tier skip like you normally get. By changing the location where you start from, they just change the it's like saying, hey, would you like to start your advent calendar on like the 18th of December instead? Just immediately be closer to the big chocolate? It's kind of like that. But yeah, The other side of things is they are, I think, doing better and better with the game after a period that was really, really rocky. Then I suppose there's also the whole Nick Mercs thing, because, hey, guess what? The culture war stuff is just absolutely everywhere. It's very tiresome. I wish we could just put like little information fields on top of the US and only have the good bits come out. That's, yeah, obviously another thing that's been going on in and around Call of Duty. I think what will be interesting for it as a brand, though, is how they deal with Modern Warfare 3. And I was talking to Connor was editing this video, and supposedly these Black Cell operators, they're probably the main villains of Modern Warfare 3. And at one point we thought Modern Warfare 3 was actually going to be like an expansion, but now it's going to be like a full game. So is this going to be like a campaign, a bunch of new maps, but do we get any form of cross progression? Like, how are they going to do that? Because you look at Valorant, and it's like people just play Valorant forever. Whereas with Call of Duty, it's just like, hey, buy a new game every single year. Everything's reset. You begin to think like, is it a strength of Valorant and League of Legends that people can just have an account value that doesn't get reset? Like their account can just be worth $4,000 because they spent that much money in this, sort of perpetual forever game. So you just kind of wonder how they're going to evolve whatever the Call of Duty brand is. But anyway, that's it for us today. If you want to check out what is really going on with Overwatch, some of its shocking Twitch statistics, you can check out the video that will replace my face any second now. Have a good day. See you next time.